Hi, I've got a problem. My desk is covered in stuff. I know that sounds like my fault, but everything on my desk has a use. Besides the cat, but that's taken care of now. And this isn't a small desk by any means. It fits almost 3 people. Now, I know people who have these risers that serve as a shelf for their computer monitor, and that's something that I want. But uh-oh. What's this? They cost money. Now, the thing about money is that I love spending it, so I don't have any. But you know what I do have? Trash. If you follow my channel for any amount of time, you'll know that I love trash. I bathe with it, kiss it, and tuck it into bed while playing Moonlight Sonata over my Google Home. I can't get enough of this stuff. Anyways, I've been holding onto this bag of Coke Zero cans for over 2 years for a video idea that never ended up getting made. They're taking up space in my closet and not accruing any value, so I figured I might as well put them to use. So here's the build plan. 4 Coke Zero cans to serve as the corners for the riser are filled to the brim with concrete. Then dowel rods are inserted into the concrete for our top to plug into. Now, you may notice that I don't have any materials for the top. That's intentional, as I planned this video before filming it. I'm going to go around the town to search for scrapped wood to use for the top. But before we do that, I need to establish something. I am not a master builder. I have made 2 woodworking projects in my entire life, one being a bookshelf too small to hold any actual books, and the other being a dangerously unstable spinning wheel that I keep slicing my arm on mistakenly. If I'm not doing it in Minecraft, I am awful at this stuff. Ultimately, if this thing ends up not falling apart and doesn't wobble, I'll consider it a success. I started out the search for wood walking around my neighborhood, where I found a baby doorstop that had clearly been abandoned by his mother. Unfortunately, all of my doors were removed by a tornado last month, so I wouldn't be needing him. I came across a fallen fence post, but it was half rotten by the time I found it. I noticed what I initially thought was the world's largest football under my favorite local bridge, but unfortunately it was just a woman's purse filled with $20 bills, so I chucked that into the local creek in the hopes that it would put me in the good graces of the gods. I walked for several hours with no luck, until I came across this place, which had so much wood that I decided to pay them for their kind deeds. I realized that I was against spending money for this project, but I had to reward their generosity somehow. And besides, I ended up paying much less for the materials than if I had just bought a riser online. With all of our materials together, we're ready to start. I started by staining the wood, and I do apologize for the dreadful angle this is filmed, but unfortunately my tripod fell asleep and I didn't have the heart to wake him up. I'm also an idiot, so I forgot to put on my gloves for like 10 minutes. This entire segment is a mess, but to be fair, the stain fumes in my unventilated garage probably contributed to that a little bit. Now that the wood's all stained, it's time to add on the brackets. While there are definitely cleaner solutions to holding the wood together, I lack the tools and the brain power to make them work. Also, the screws that I used were made of annoyingly soft metal, so every one of them ended up stripping. Sheared that one the f*** off. Sweet. It holds together though, so we can move on to inserting the dowels. Now, I don't need these to be perfectly straight, I accept them for who they are. Since the base of the cans provide the stability for the legs, the dowels can rest in the can at any angle they want. While we wait on those to dry, we can start testing out our concrete. The instructions on the concrete say that a 60-pound bag requires a gallon of water. Since the weight of a gallon of water is 8.33 pounds, I calculated that the concrete mix at about a 7-to-1 ratio. It's probably the most scuffed way to calculate the ratio, and since I'm so bad at math, I decided it would be best to test it beforehand. While our test is going, I worked on removing the tops of the Coke cans so we can insert our dowel rods perfectly in the middle of them. The result is unfortunately very sharp, and I would not recommend drinking from it at this stage. The damage is done though, and I'm not going to bother smoothing it down since it won't be exposed anyways. Our concrete is now dry, and it looks like I'm ready to open up the world's worst Dairy Queen. With our wood glue dried as well, I applied a clear coat to protect the wood from whatever hooligans keep breaking into my house and writing their initials on everything. I wanted to make sure that the concrete had enough compressive pressure to hold onto our dowel rods, so I tested this with a screw that I got stuck in a piece of scrap wood. Not ideal, but to be fair, the screw was only about a centimeter deep into the concrete, so either way the test was practically useless. Instead of acting rationally and doing a valid test, I decided that I was better than the laws of physics and went on preparing the final step. This is the part I had been dreading, as once the water was poured, I only had about 15 minutes before it set, so I had to be quick putting the wood portion on top. Even then, jostling the top and side of the cans could cause the cans to tilt, or worse, the rods to break. It was finally time.
And then like right after that, he's like, hey man, you want to do sushi? It's like, that's maniac. Wait,
A slam dunk, baby. It's not perfectly centered, but it's close enough. Flipping the riser to remove the glue residue from the bottom of the cans was nerve-wracking, and I heard cracking as I was doing it, so I realized I should wait until the concrete was done curing, and I went to bed. It's now the next morning, and time for the lift test. Holy sh**. It holds things. It doesn't wobble. It's everything that I wanted and more. The 4-can desk riser is better than I ever hoped it could be. It even works as a footstool. It provides so much more room to procrastinate at my desk, and it's the perfect size to keep my frozen pizza. If there's one lesson to take away from this video, it's that I'm 1,000 times better and more creative than you will ever be. Kick rocks, loser.